they came out here with a point, it'd be absolutely fantastic result. As I say, I don't think they can ask for a tougher opener coming to this place. So, yeah, Red Star Belgrade as well, as I said, they're absolutely flying. So Celtic can get a point, it'd be a great start to the campaign, and probably give the team and the fans a bit of optimism for the European campaign ahead.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope it's an absolute cracker for you, and enjoy the atmosphere.
We'll check in. We'll see you tomorrow at some point, no doubt.
Cheers.
The guys in Belgrade there, Keith. We've got plenty of comments coming in thick and fast. If you want to get involved in the conversation,
Dan,
do so. Go on.
Why was your head just floating about there on the margin? What was going on?
I just explained this to our producer Henrik.
That was weird.
Next to my satellite office here, there was a man with a jackhammer. And so I had to move into another area of the satellite office, and it looked a bit weird. And I thought, I'll try this background, but I do think...
Don't ever do that again. That's the stuff of nightmares.
It was a bit weird, wasn't
it?
It was a bit weird. Listen, every day's a school day. The comments, though, back to the comments. Thomas says, Red Star Belgrade are a good team. I'd be more than happy with a draw. Rebel says, Atalanta display will do me. Mark says, I've never been less enthusiastic in the run-up to a European game.
Mark's been banging this drum for days now. He's refusing to get up for it. We'll see what Moody's in if Celtic were to start off with an away win in the competition. I keep saying it. I know there's a bit of, and I understand why some Celtic fans are a bit reluctant to get too excited about this competition, because it's the competition they didn't want to be in. It's the Consolation Cup for Celtic this season, but it's a European trophy, guys. And once the campaign gets up and running, if Celtic get some good results, decent performances, they'll get traction. The fans will come back on board. I'm sure they will. Even Mark.
Aye, no, and just finally on the comments, this one here from Davey, he says it'd be nice to win the big two trophies in Europe. Not many teams can lay claim to that, and I'm not saying for a second, Keith, that Celtic are going to win the Europa League this season, but we mentioned it last night. Celtic fans, whether they'll admit it or not, they must have looked at Rangers the last 3 or 4 years and thought, it'd be amazing to go on a run to a semi, a final. It'd be incredible.
Yeah, listen, obviously Celtic have got aspirations to be in the Champions League. We know that, right? And understandably so. They've had this domestic dominance over the period. And they want to be, it's always trying to be one better off than the guy next door, isn't it? So, he buys a 40-inch telly, you get a 50-inch, etc., etc. But it is a European competition, Dan. There's massive kudos to be gained from it. I just think Celtic are just going through a bit of an unhappy period at the start of this season. I think, getting results in a competition like this could soon make the feel-good factor come back. And I'm with the guys. I think a draw away from home would represent a real solid start. That's always my formula in Europe. And I know it's slightly different now because these are one-off matches. They're not home and away ties. But I still think if you can pick up a point on the road, win your home games, you should be okay, particularly with this expanded. What was it you said the Dolphins said ahead of last season's campaign? 9 points probably got to be enough?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. 90-odd%, that would be enough, yeah.
90-odd%?
It was something like 90% likely to make it to the knockout stage, sorry.
I thought you said if you got 90% of your points, you'd probably go through. Yeah, I'd probably go along with that.
You'd probably get through that,
but no, I think a point would be an excellent start for Celtic. I don't write off the chances of getting something even better than that, because I don't class Red Star as up there with your Atalantas. I see Rebel said something similar to Atalanta. I don't think it's the same level of opposition, therefore. But I do take it. I do concede that probably Celtic are a little bit weaker starting 11 than they would have been going into the Champions League campaign for all sorts of reasons that we've discussed long and weary over the last wee while. So yeah, a point I think is doable. 3 points would be utterly fantastic start. I think avoid defeat and you've got the campaign up and running. and you can start to build some momentum from that on that platform. So yeah, fingers crossed, because it's been a real disappointing summer for Scotland's club in Europe. We know that our coefficient's taking a hammering, not happy days at all. So, you know, this Europa League campaign's about to get off and running for both the Glasgow sides. And wouldn't it be nice if they start to buck the trend, because it's been a bit depressing up until this point in Europe so far for all the Scottish clubs.
Absolutely, aye. In the comments, AJSC Tech says, I'm still not over Kyrat. I know it's bratish and entitled, but Europa League feels like a dial-up internet in a wireless world. Sean, though, a bit more optimistic. He says, haven't bought my 4-game package, but now we're in the cusp of it starting. I'm optimistic about it. No Champions League teams dropping down means we should be targeting top 24 and strengthen in January. And just on the Celtic team, Keith, I wanted to get your take on this. Kenneth says right wing is a problem. I mentioned to the guys there about starting, you know, up front. Do you think it'll be Iheanacho through the middle, or do you think it'll be Maeda? And who plays on the right? I get that was a lot of information to throw at you there, but
I think you'll play Maeda through the middle.
Okay.
I think Tanecki, you know, how can you move him out of that left wing position after what you've seen from him in his first 2 games? I think he has to start, and he has to start in his best position. And then the right-hand side, would it be too much of a curveball to think James Forrest might start that in that position? Given that, you know, he didn't start at the weekend. I know Yang did okay at the weekend. I think if you get a good hour out of James Forrest, I'm not entirely sure that isn't the best solution. And how many times have we said that? No matter how many wingers Celtic bring in over the course and distance, James Forrest inevitably sees them all off.
Sees them off, aye.
And I know he's not getting any younger, but I wonder if the kind of workload has been minimal for him, because Brendan Rodgers is looking at this and thinking, do you know what? Give me an hour. And then they can mix it about after that. Maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. The comments are still coming in. If you want to let us know how you think Celtic will get on in Belgrade tomorrow night, please do so. Marzuno says, definitely not Yang on the right-hand side. The board's biggest crime this summer is not taking that 3 million. Mark says Yang did nothing wrong. Hoopsaholic says, we start Forrest, Tierney and Ralston, and there's 3 subs needed before you kick a ball. And finally, Andrew says, we both need to look at getting far this year. We need the coefficient up again, and never a truer word has been spoken. The coefficient is in a really, really ropey place at the minute.
Yeah, well, it kind of the coefficient kind of sums up the sort of bad blood that there is and resentment around both clubs just now. And if they're going to kind of escape the shackles of what's been going on with the protests and the kind of ill will around both clubs, then, you know, a bit of positivity in Europe would go a long way to helping that. You know, we'll deal probably more with Rangers tomorrow night, or maybe we won't, because I think we're doing. We'll be coming on after the Celtic game tomorrow night, won't we? So Rangers, difficult. It's just a difficult time for Russell Martin and his players. Anything less than a win is not a good start for Rangers, because it's at home. So, but if the flip side of that coin, Daniel, if Rangers could get off to a winning start in their first game at home, I think that might alleviate just a little bit of the bad feeling and set them up for a potentially tricky game at Livingston at the weekend, when, as we've discussed, depending on how Aberdeen get on tonight and on Saturday at Motherwell, Rangers could be sitting bottom of the league by the time they go to Livingston. So, what God give us with one hand, He taketh away with the other, isn't that right?
In the comments, Mark rightly points out, as you say, Keith, 10 p.m. tomorrow night for the show. That is correct. We'll be back with a late night edition, which
Pajama
means
party with Daniel Caw.
which means this is probably my last chance to get your prediction for the game. Do you think Celtic will get a result in Serbia?
Well, this is 100% your last chance of getting a prediction from me for the game.
I could ring you tonight.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go 2-1 Celtic. I think they can get off to a winning start.
That would be an amazing start if they get a 2-1 win over there.
It would be.
Have you ever been?
We need Scottish football needs some positive vibes. So let's look at this start of the Europa League campaign for both of these sides as a potential clean slate and a chance for them to really get up and going. I know Celtic, you know, they've not got any sort of real domestic issues other than the kind of dissatisfaction of the support and the manager with the transfer window. I get all that. On the pitch, they continue to get results. I've not been convinced by Celtic's performance level, and I know it was only Partick and that sounds bad, condescending. It was only Partick Thistle, but you know what I mean by that at the weekend. But I felt Celtic looked much more like Celtic, and Brendan Rodgers has talked about getting the identity of the team back. And I think that's what he was talking about: starting on the front foot, more aggressive, more quicker and sharper and more intense. And I think that was far more like it from Celtic at the weekend. Although granted that this will be a far bigger test tomorrow night.